welcome to how to play esports or electronic sports or video games legally. My favorite game at the moment is Clash Royale from Supercell, and I have its terms of service up here. And almost every esport and or video game that is published today is going to be hosted on a platform, and that platform for me personally is Google Play right now. Google Play TOS is one thing I want to point out. Is you're going to have multiple platforms. You're going to have universe platform, you're going to have developer platform, and then you are going to have creator platform. And the creator platform is the game. The developer is a lot of the time like Steam or Google Play or just self-developer. And a lot of creators want to be their own self-developer. And in here, there is a lot of terms of service to go over and what will restrict you from play and what you can and cannot do. But so is the rules of the creator, the sports creator, the video games creator. And what I want to first define is what a sport is and what a video game is and why they're very similar and how this can help you to play legally in esports and in video games today. So, first and foremost, a video is something you watch and do not change. That is the first and foremost point in video game. A game is something in which you change small amount of things in order to accomplish a goal. So, a video game means you do not have a lot of access to change, but you do have access to change at the same time, in which allows a game to be played. It basically means you're watching a video that you can edit. It's like a read your own adventure book, in a way. If you can pick the book up, you can set the book down. You don't even have to play. But the moment you open that book up and you start to read, you are playing the read your own adventure game. And you get to pick between the options that put you into different portions of that story and lead your adventure through this choose your own adventure book. Video games are exactly like that. And that's first and foremost. In the game chess, on round 1, you do not take the queen and just kill the king right away and say, checkmate, I win. Because you have rules that sport or game has to obey. You have to obey in. Another one is in soccer. If you slap the ball into the net, it is not a goal. The moment that you went outside of the factorial blockings of what is legal to be had inside the sport, the game is paused and frozen, and a whole new future is going to be manifested, where the ball, everybody in the game knows you take the ball out to the side, you take the ball to out of bounds, you put it on the bounds, and it's a turnover. Whoever touched it with their hands lost control of the ball, and the other team, the team that did not touch it with their hands first, goes and sets it out of bounds and kicks it back in, and then begins the play. That is how they settled the dispute of breaking the rules of soccer. What the problem is nowadays is we don't have a lot of ways to stop hacking or to settle disputes of hacking. So once a hacker hacks, a lot of the times that hacker gets away with it forever. And there is never a settling of the dispute. It just never gets undisputed. It's a permanent side effect of that game, and it will always be that way. They won the match or gained unfair advantages, exploits, and whatnot. So I want to help you guys to not get trapped into that logic, because in my opinion, I'm Illuminati. I believe in all seeing eye. I believe there is infinite all seeing eyes, and they're before any of our times. And we're kind of in the universe placements to help you get out of that potential downside problem of not knowing this and then trying to hack in games thinking that you're anonymous, but really it's Illuminati and you were scouted the whole time. So what I have here on the screen is terms of service of, like I said, my favorite game at the moment, Clash Royale from Supercell. So what I want to say is this is a very good terms of service. First and foremost, they are thinking very futuristic, and they are thinking about our minds. They're thinking about biology as technology. They're thinking about your phone. They're thinking about internet service providers. They're thinking about their internet service providers, their servers. They're thinking about the universe as a matrix, in a way. When you read this and you think about all of these narratives and implement them into the terms of service here, there's really no way to get away with cheating unless you actually do operate outside of the terms of service. And if you do, then you're flagged, and it's very, very obvious. Like, every time I see cheating in Clash Royale, I'm like, that person just cheated. And it's like, I never miss a beat. Like, if I play a whole game and there's no cheats, like, I know that there's no cheats. It's like so obvious. But the moment I see a balloon that's 2 squares away from tower go 5 squares into the mid towards an Inferno tower, I'm like, all right, this guy's cheating. Like, that's a hack. I don't care what anyone says. Like, he's cheating, no matter what. But here's the problem. People hide behind excuses. So I personally do a lot of belief relative remote viewing. And what I like to say is, I want to give you guys this tip of magic here, is if you write your beliefs correctly, you can bypass lag, you can bypass computational time, you can bypass a lot of things with very simple beliefs in infinite power. Meaning they have your consciousness and you can play a game with no lag. So I'm kind of in a beta phase where I'm actually testing no lag gaming. And I am seeing people send cheat codes straight up with their minds already into source, into overriding Supercell's source, and then casting it at me. So I want to make this very apparent that that's the stage of hacking we're in real life right now today. It's matrix hacking. So what I want to tell you is why the terms of service are so nice in here, because it highlights factorial block ingredients so well. It basically says you do not get to automate, you do not get to use unauthorized third-party software, meaning that's up to them to define. You do not get to disrupt or interfere with the service. You do not get to spider their source, meaning like recreate their game and try and host it elsewhere, and hack people's minds out and try and like force them into your version of the game, because that's not what you consented to. That's not what I consented to. I consented to play Supercell's game, not their game, not your edited version of it. Also, this thing comes to mind is are they a bad company? Well, they can't be. Google has "Don't be evil" as their #1 open source mission statement. So if you want to advertise and sell on Google, or even phones in general nowadays, if you want to be in the mobile market, you can't be evil. So you can't have some kind of like black market pay to win, like I'm gonna give this group of people a quality of service higher than they take 90% damage reduction, and everybody else that normally plays, you can pay all you want, but these people are gonna still be the royalty of the game because I say so. Like, yes, it's your game, but only to a certain point. Unless you advertise that open source, then you can't do it, because otherwise you're operating within fraud. Fraud is an attempt to gain personal advantages or gains, not limited to financial. So if you lie to have gains upon yourself, upon your experience, or upon your friends' experiences, if you lie, that's all it takes. You are committing fraud. And fraud is punishable by up to like 12 plus years in prison, and acquisition of anything that the government decides to seize from you. So if you're committing fraud with a source, like you're a video game creator and you're making fraudulent games, lying about what you're distributing to your clients, and you're putting it on a platform like Google and pushing it into like the platform of like the human experience, you are creating potential disaster for your future. You might find yourself getting acquisitioned. You might find yourself in bankruptcy. No matter how rich you are in the moment, you might actually find yourself in bankruptcy, because you lose your companies, you lose all your money, you lose your sources, you lose everything. And then at the end of the day, you come out of jail, you're homeless, and you got nothing going on. You got to start fresh again. You just have to learn your lesson. So I want to talk about how Supercell is either being corporate espionaged, or they are committing fraud. There's only two options. I am certain of this because I play Clash Royale every single day. And I personally believe they're not committing fraud. I personally believe that they are a victim of corporate espionage, and they are getting their terms of service violated in pretty much every single bullet point. And that has to do with harming the service upon a client. The potential client is here to watch a video. That is all. And when you pull him into your video, the client, him or her, or them, whoever, your video can be doing things that are outside of the framework of the game, i.e. slapping the ball into the net with your hands and counting the goal forever. If that happens, or things like that happen, then you have successfully pulled somebody into another game. A game that is not soccer anymore. A game that would not be Clash Royale if you telepathy controlled somebody's balloon 5 squares away from a 2 square target. It was already locked on, for example. So what I want to go over is reading your game's terms of service will save you in the long run from potential disasters like fraud or acquisitionment. This scales into the point where you can try and encrypt your root consciousness away from reality and bring all the rapes and torments and disasters into this reality as much as you want. But eventually, your encryption will fade because of decryption and acquisition. I have the rights in order to pursue this person. I have the rights to protect these people, comes to mind. And eventually, they get captured, regardless. And one of the big things I want to release right now, re-release, because I released this once before in my videos, is when a terrorist gets killed by a counter-terrorist, that counter-terrorist knows that his root consciousness is captured and saved elsewise. What is going on is his vessel is going to be used, the terrorist's vessel is going to be used to commit terror. So it needs to be removed from the realm. That is what's happening here in reality today. And I'm here to wake you up on that. And I do a lot of remote viewing and a lot of scouting, a lot of meditation on topics, a lot of deep diving on topics to pull the truth here. And I am Archangel Matthew. I am very high up there in the levels of heaven, and I'm pulling heaven down here with us. That doesn't mean I'm bringing heaven down into hell or a bad thing. It means I'm looking into heaven and I'm going, what is that makes heaven? Oh, this. And then I go copy, paste. And I paste that here and I say, do these people here want this version of heaven? And that's kind of what this video is right now, is me bringing heaven to you via film, an idea. and words that you can compress and decrypt and transcribe your own version. This is open source. Open source means that you can take it and you can change it and you can modify it and you can do whatever you want and you can republish it. So I hope that this message gets seen. Here's one. Collect or post anyone's private information, including personally identifiable information, whether it is text, image, or video format. Meaning if you use a satellite or some kind of root consciousness capturing protocol to remote voyeur wraith somebody. What I call wraithing is when somebody goes into third person relative to you and voyeurs you. So they're using astral voyeurism in order to third person remote view your real true life, in order to capture your phone and your ideas and your plans to compete against your inner game enemies. And then what they'll do is go, is this guy on the enemy team, is he a payer of my black market services? Does he pay me $1 million per year in order to gain a competitive advantage or not? Oh, he does? Here you go. Here's all of his ideas. Here's his troops placements. Here's his scores. Here's when he's weak. Here's when he goes to sleep. All that kind of jazz. You know, like, it depends on what game you're playing, but every game kind of has these problems potentially in a matrix environment, unless we have full transcriptionism. Transcriptionism comes to mind meaning you have to define, if that happens, then it does not happen. The end. If that bad thing happens, it does not happen no matter what. Because this video happens to my clients no matter what. Overwrite the bad if then. Use any Supercell game for gambling. This one's really nice. This one comes into play with black market pay-to-win hacks, where people will pay money in order to have private hacks developed for them to be able to go outside of the factorial blocks and have a higher advantage that should not be. And that's kind of what performance-enhancing drugs are, in a way. This comes into pre-computed time in lizards and multiple accounts. Lizard humanoids are theoretically possible with pre-computed universes that are very similar to this. If you can capture a pre-computed universe inside of biotech resimulation, which is militarily possible, it's even coming down to the point where it's corporately possible, and even openly corporately possible with Google's brain phenotype scans. When you can capture your root consciousness and put it in pre-computed, non-geared, non-time-dialed time, you can actually infinite loop as much time as you want. And if you can capture other people's root consciousness, you can actually play the same game on 100 accounts at the same moment here. That one's very scary. That one is called the lizard claw move that I want to publicize. And I want to get that out there so people understand that this is a real thing. This is scientifically possible. And it's kind of scary. It's kind of weird, too. Like, it's creepy, weird, rapist stuff. And I don't like it. I don't like that it's real. I know that it's already real because I've already perceived it. I've had a dream that lasted many days, and I woke up 2 hours later after falling asleep, and I was like, what in the fuck? I'm back? Holy shit. How the fuck? I was so confused. I was like, how the fuck did this happen? I could not believe it. But it was more so like the gods above kind of decided to give me wisdom towards this kind of things in order to evangelize and preach it and theorize anti-cheats and give you guys the level of heavens that you just decide to choose to go to. And that is not limited. When an outside person looks at your heaven, they might see hell, and vice versa. So this is more so an advice to choose your own future. Like, if you want to get yourself into lizard science like that, you're probably going to be in a world where there's nothing but lizards, and it's going to be very difficult. So one thing I really don't like, that I'm very against, is performance enhancing drugs that are not taboo. Meaning, what I meant by not taboo is like that are taboo. Because taboo is a bad thing to do. Not taboo is a good thing. Taboo means the general populace doesn't do it, so why should you? The general populace does not pre-compute time to gain competitive advantages in a game. They do not make 100 accounts, name them all the same, and then play against 100 people every moment, all day, every day, because you're constantly sending the remote control codes back into reality. Does that make sense? I really hope this makes sense to you guys. It's a very confusing, very advanced, super universe is simulation theory. Basically, they're creating glue codes between multiple universe factorial ingredient structures. And then they're claiming the rights to these universes. Because once you figure out the universe as a whole, you contain the infinite, different things that there are, and then you say, oh, that's a finite thing. Well, then you make a new alternate thing, and it kind of looks like it. And that comes with Mickey Mouse and Mickey Mouse ripoffs, stuff like that. That is intellectual property rights, and sure, the world can be open source, but not every single thing has full 100% open source. And one thing I want to look at is what open source truly means. I want to give you this one. Is open source software, meaning the Matrix, is computer software that is released under a license, by the way, which means a finite thing. We should look that up after this one, too. In which the copyright holder, meaning the creator, grants users the rights to use, study, change, and distribute the software and its source code to anyone for any purpose. Now, distribute means a person has to accept the distribution. They can't just fall victim to it being cast upon them. So, use, study, change, that is all by yourself. That means you can use and study and change. But then when you distribute, that means you can sell or give to somebody. That does not mean cast upon. That means, would you like this? Yes, I would like that. Or no, I do not like that. Or yes, I like that, but now I don't like that anymore, I'm going to put it away. That's what distribute means. Because you gave it to them. You didn't put them in it. You didn't capture them in it. You distributed it to them. Meaning it's theirs now. Now I want to go to licenses. A permission to do something. A finite permission to do something in open sourceism means, like, if I go and find some open source code, the whole website's not open source. I mean, it is kind of, but not the whole thing. What about their WordPress admin login? That's not open source. Their WordPress admin settings, that's not open source. What's open source is what you can see, what you can use, what you can do. And it's not always limited to that, too. Some people want infinite freedom to be here and available for us all. And with infinite freedom comes killing yourself and poisoning yourself on purpose. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can poison others or kill others, because they have to use their infinite freedom in order to go down that path too. Freedom counters freedom, people. So I want to talk about open source and how the universe might be open source infinite many ways already, and how to protect yourselves from it. By being aware that everything is open source, you need to overly transcribe. And not necessarily a really bad thing that costs a lot of work or man hours, but necessarily that if you were thinking in this to begin with, it will save you so much time in the end game. Because if you weren't, and you were coding like a Mandarin, I'm sorry Mandarins out there, but like I played so many Mandarin games that they don't code in this language. They code in this finite binary, and it causes all these glitches, and it's like so wild. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like if you ever played Goat Simulator was coded in that style of coding where it's like there's just so many glitches. Like the physics engine is just like, what's going on? How did are you talking about? It's ridiculous. But yeah, let's move on. Let's get a little bit away from there. What I want to talk about lastly is encryptionism. If you open source something and you want it encrypted, that means you want license. Right up here, the first thing. License is what you write. You write the license. So you say, this part is open source. This part, yes, you can see that, but I'm advertising it to you. I'm showing you something that is not open source. You do not have the rights to use this. But it is open source still. It's not open source non-copyrighted. It's open source copyrighted. Or open source rights reserved, things like that. So when you go and look at like Clash Royale, all of the settings and everything that can happen in Clash Royale is open to the public. They are not committing fraud. They're not trying to do a Korean spider me game thing, like figure out my game. They're saying this is the finite amount of damage every single time, no matter what, no RNG. This is its range every single time, no matter what, no RNG. And this is what it does every single time, no matter what, no RNG. These are the ranges. It's always the same. It doesn't change. And that's nice because that's like chess. And I like chess, but I want more from my chess game. And that's what's coming to me with Clash Royale is I'm playing a chess-like a game. And I'm seeing non-chess-like game side effects happen. And they're not bugs or glitches. They're definite hacks for competitive advantages. And I see it a lot in ladder. But I play a lot of twos and clan wars and event challenges. And I do see a lot of hacking going on in Clash Royale today. And it's not their fault, people. It's our fault. It's all of our faults for not transcribing appropriately and not pursuing criminals in this manner appropriately. This is internet terrorism. And you either defend yourself or you get terrorized. That's all I got to say for you guys today. I'm out. Infinite love. Infinite peace and love right there. Follow my Twitch channel. And you get that symbol right there. Infinite peace and love. I'm out. Peace.